Good morning, friends and enemies. This is the wide receiver preview video. Every single game, every single fantasy relevant wide receiver, I'm going to let you know whether you should be sitting or starting them. Did this yesterday for the running backs, all right? We'll link that in the description. If you missed it, go check it out. If you enjoy this, subscribe because we'll be doing this every single week, all right? Let's proceed. Very first game of the slate tonight, we've got Seattle at Arizona. Arizona is 1.5 point underdogs. I mean, JSN, of course, is a must start, one of the best fantasy assets on the planet right now. Receptions all the way up to 6.5, which is crazy. Now that we're on to Thursday, we can get a better look at practice reports. On the Seattle side of things, they get a lot of much needed help back in the secondary. Devon Witherspoon is a full participant on Wednesday. Amin Worry says doubtful. I don't think that's correct because he did get a full practice in on Wednesday as well. Julian Love, full practice in on Wednesday. As you can see, a lot of their players got full practice in on Wednesday, so they've been playing down on defense and they've still been playing well. So I'd expect this to be a nice game for Seattle's defense. On the flip side, the DMPs for Arizona, which will once again be Will Johnson. Unfortunately, their mega star rookie right now who is playing top of his game, but it's going to be a big loss for their secondary, which obviously opens things up for JSN. Marvin Harrison Jr., his line's now down at 46.5 and 3.5 catches. It's tough to get a solid read on Marvin Harrison Jr. right now because he's obviously played really poorly. Everyone saw the drops on Red Zone last week and throughout, Twitter or whatever, which I don't really care for. I think that's just something that will correct itself. Though, as you know, I've just been very low on this passing offense since the summer. They just don't click well. It doesn't run functionally. That being said, I do think better days are ahead for Marvin Harrison Jr. Do I feel good about it? Absolutely not. He's going to be in the shaky flex category, but I'm going to probably have him at the very, very top of this category altogether. He's just one of those players, and this is the product of being in the Arizona Cardinals passing offense. It's going to be very hard to predict when the good games are going to come, when he's going to catch the balls, when he's going to get the opportunities downfield. As you could see, though, Seattle's defense is very, very good. 31st in terms of fantasy points per game allowed to wide receivers, 31st in overall points per game allowed to just opponents, 17th in EPA per pass, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that they've been so banged up in their secondary, but they're getting a lot of much needed help. So one of my favorite plays for this week, I have a parlay open right now for Seattle -1.5 and Sam Darnold over 220.5 passing yards. You could see any plays that I take on the Pickett app, absolutely free to download, Pikkit. We will link it down below. If you use code BDGE when you get on there, it'll automatically take you over to me and Guts profile where you could find us and tail any of the picks that we make throughout. But I really, really like Seattle for tonight. Cooper Kupp's going to continue to find himself in the shaky flex category. Torrey Horton, absolute stash. We definitely want him on our teams for the back half of the season, but until they really, really use him in a high volume role, he's going to be a rather not for us. Moving to the Dublin game, we've got Minnesota and Pittsburgh. Minnesota is a 2.5 point favorite. These international games, I feel like they're always incredibly sloppy and they're low scoring for the most part. So I tend to dock most of the players here. The Vikings look like they're getting Ryan Kelly back. The Steelers are getting a lot of help back on their secondary here. Deshaun Elliott limited, Joey Porter Jr. limited, Patrick Queen limited. So according to most practice reports, that would put them on pace to be playing on Sunday. So if Deshaun Elliott is back and Joey Porter is back, I expect their secondary to play a lot better than they have in recent weeks. Minnesota, on the other hand, Andrew Van Ginkel was a DNP, but he did play last week. So we'll keep an eye on practice reports for that one. He's obviously a big part of their defense in the middle there. Justin Jefferson, he's been underwhelming, but there's just not a world where you're sitting him against what this Pittsburgh defense looks like right now, all the way up at 78.5 for his line. DK Metcalf, on the other hand, I still think the passing offense runs through him, although he's been really disappointing. As you can see, the Minnesota defense is ferocious. Dead last in fantasy points per game allowed to the wide receiver position, also dead last in EPA per pass to opponents. So DK, sort of like Marvin Harrison Jr., he's going to find himself in the shaky flex category, but definitely towards the top of it. I think that's the same spot that I would put Jordan Addison, obviously returning from his 3-game suspension here. His line's at 40.5. 3.5 receptions. Of course, Carson Wentz is still playing quarterback, and that's kind of the issue here. We love Jordan Addison. He's a good deep threat, and he could get loose for a deep ball. But at the end of the day, if I have Jordan Addison in my lineup, I'm not feeling great about it in the first game that he's back. The team is traveling. They also have another game in England next week, so we'll see how they perform. But I'm probably looking to sit Addison for a week before he gets into my lineup. Calvin Austin's another one. He's just going to go into the rather not. He's really only a best ball player. You just can't decide when you want him in your lineup and when you don't. Next game up, we got the 1 o'clock slates. Carolina at New England. Now, New England is a 5.5-point favorite in this one, which feels like a lot of juice. For the Panthers, we got Leggett again with the DNP. He didn't play last week. Tetairoa McMillan with the DNP for the calf. That's something to absolutely keep an eye on, of course. Jadavian Sanders is going to be out with a high ankle sprain. Christian Gonzalez is questionable for the game. He did get in a limited practice on Wednesday. He was limited all last week and then ended up not suiting up. So I'd have to imagine he's really, really close to a return. That being said, though, it's hard to see him at 100% of the player that he was prior to it. That's going to be the big question mark here, whether or not he ends up playing, because, again, calf injuries, that's something that could linger. If he gets DNP'd, Thursday and then again on Friday, there's a good chance that he does not end up suiting up, and this game could be just horrendous. The over-under's at 42.5 right now. I don't know how you trust any of the New England wide receivers. I know on paper the matchup feels good against Carolina, but I will say this is becoming an extreme run funnel type of defense where their run defense is terrible, but right now their pass defense ranks amongst the top of the league in most categories. They've had a really, really easy schedule, obviously, to start the season. That being said, JC Horn is really like locking things down for them, and there's just red across the board for their opponents. They're not allowing a lot of passing production to opponents, and I think that might stay the course against New England here. So with these guys, I mean, their lines are at 36.5 and 26.5. They're both going to go into the rather not category for me. Tetairoa McMillan, if he plays, I still think I feel good about it. The game script's there. The New England defense hasn't been good. Obviously, Christian Gonzalez getting back is going to be a big upgrade for them. But everybody else, I'm not necessarily trying to get into my lineup. Whether it's Hunter Renfrow, Demario Douglas, it don't matter. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. Jalen Coker, if he is available on your wire and you could throw him into your IR, please do so. Next game up, we got Cleveland at Detroit. Of course, Amon-Ra is going right into the must-start tier. Detroit, 10-point favorites at home, 44.5-point total. Let's take a look at the practice reports. We have DNPs from Taylor Decker. We've got DNPs for Muhammad, who was a beast last week. We've got double DNPs for 2 defensive tackles on the Cleveland Browns side of things. And Denzel Ward with a DNP here. So something to keep an eye on for all of those players. If Denzel Ward is out, it's obviously a big boost to a guy like Jameson Williams, who would probably see a lot of Ward on the exterior, though. Jameson Williams' line is getting kind of gross and low there, 42.5. I will say, I do like the idea of a minor bounce back here. I kind of floated this theory last week with the Packers, but it worked great against the Ravens, where the Browns, again, play a ton of man defense on the outside and single high coverage, meaning there will be shots for opposing offenses to have in the passing game. Matthew Golden played pretty well, actually. He was one of the guys that I kind of highlighted for that. If we remember what the Ravens did to Cleveland earlier in the season, I could see Jared Goff taking some shots to Jameson Williams in this one. So as weird as it feels, I really don't hate the idea of throwing Jameson Williams into your lineup for the big play ability based on the defensive matchup in this one. On the flip side, Detroit's actually a good matchup for opposing passing offenses. They're really, really stout against the run, but I like Jared Jeudy in this one. I think Cedric Tillman can definitely be thrown into the shaky flex category as well. As you could see, they are allowing a lot of points here. Bottom 3 in EPA per pass allowed to opponents, bottom 10 in both fantasy points allowed and overall points per game allowed. So they're a defense that you could absolutely throw against if needed. Moving to the Chargers and the Giants. Now, I can't really give you any great insight to these Chargers receivers. It's just kind of been the same thing every single week. Herbert plays out of his mind. Everybody kind of eats here. I think, honestly, the best tiebreaker here is go by the player prop lines. Ladd's at 62.5 receiving yards. Quentin Johnson's at 52.5. Keenan Allen is at 49.5. This is a super soft Giants secondary, obviously, and they do have Jackson Dart starting in this one, which we'll get over to in a second. Malik's obviously a must start, though. It don't matter. I don't know whether to put all 3 of them in dub flex or feels good. Like, I kind of feel like if I have any of them in my lineup, I feel good about them. But do I think they're all like, yeah, you know what? Ladd McConkey's obviously the one suffering a little bit. But if he's in my lineup against the Giants, I feel good about all these guys. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know how else to lay it out for you. Of course, one of them's going to have a flop game, maybe 2 of them, and one of them maybe explodes or maybe none of them explode. I don't know, but this is how I feel. Wendell Robinson, the PPR scam, is going down to the shaky flex category, and that is all we got for it. I guess, we got to talk about Jackson Dart at quarterback, obviously. I don't think it affects how I would rank any of these players, to be honest with you right now. We don't know how he's going to perform. I do think he's going to have a little bit more of like a gunslinger mentality. They might give him the ropes a little bit more. They're down to just Cam Scatabo at running back with Devin Singletary, so maybe they do lean on the pass a little more. I think there's a world where they go kind of RPO heavy, like run pass option heavy. And what that would do to a guy like Malik Neighbors, when you're doing a run pass option, you have to make a quick decision. It's like, is my first read open or do I hand the ball off? And that's good for a guy like Malik because he's always going to be the first option in a passing game, right? Like when you're in a quick hitting type of offense, like you don't have the time to decide to hand the ball off or to look at 3 different reads. You look to your top guy, and that's always going to be Malik Neighbors. So I could see a high target number total for Malik. That's not saying anything fucking spicy here. So yeah, whatever. We'll see what Dart looks like. Next game up on the slate, we've got New Orleans at Buffalo. Buffalo 15.5-point favorites at home, 47.5-point total here. Chris Olave is a guy that is just going to get an insane amount of targets. I tweeted out a ridiculous stat the other day. Chris Olave's current pace for 17 games, 210 targets, 935 receiving yards. Ridiculous. So I think if you're in a full PPR league, you feel good, or he's a dub flex for you right now. The way the offense functions, like he's not getting a lot of scoring opportunities. So I think those touchdown days will come. But when you look at the anytime touchdown opportunities, Khalil Shakir has better odds. Keon Coleman has better odds. Like it's not great for Olave. I'm sure he'll end the year with 4 touchdowns, and you won't be able to really choose when he gets into the end zone. He's going to be a dub flex for me, and he's going to be at the very top of that category, though. My one concern is just game script and how much time of possession Buffalo just bullies the Saints into here. I don't know how many plays. Like they're an up-tempo offense that does end up running a lot of plays because they're always in garbage time and they're trying to catch up. But I don't know. I kind of think that style of play is going to catch up to them eventually. Khalil Shakir coming off a nice game. I think he's in a dub flex category for me. I think Keon Coleman's in the shaky flex category for me. We've seen just no consistency from his volume and his target totals up to this point. Khalil Shakir, I really like the over on his receiving yards of 38.5. I think he's more often a 5 for 50 guy on a weekly basis than anything else. Rashid Shaheed, definitely in the shaky flex category, just very, very little consistency from him. Moving to Philadelphia and Tampa Bay, our first weather update of the morning. Your typical Florida chance for an afternoon downpour. Coverage of the rain is roughly 30%. So while heavy rain is certainly possible, I wouldn't make any bets or fantasy choices based on an expected deluge because it might never come. So typical Florida weather might come, might not come. Just check it out when we are closer to the game time. Injury reports. Chris Godwin, full participant. Remember, they did not put him or Tristan Wirfs on the IR, which means he can return for week 4. Might suit up. Reports sound relatively optimistic about that happening. What will his snap count be in his first game? Probably not overly significant, but who knows? I mean, they're down McMillan, they're down Mike Evans, they're down a lot of players on offense right now where they might, I don't know, they might just force the issue. And this is going to be a tough game for them, right? Philly at Tampa Bay. They're in Florida. Philly's 3.5-point favorites, 43.5-point total in this one. So Godwin, full participant, trending towards playing. Charlie Heck and Tristan Wirfs are both limited. So that is also trending towards them playing possibly, which would be a major upgrade to the Bucs offensive line. You've got Lane Johnson, who dealt with a stinger. He's limited, so it does look like he's going to play as well. Zach Ball and DMP. Jahad Campbell, DMP. Mike Evans, DMP. So when we start to boil down the injuries and everything to what we're doing with these players, AJ Brown right now, I believe for me in my rankings, which are live on BDGE.co, I think people are going to be like overly optimistic about what happened last week and act like everything is fine and everything's back to being fixed. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I still think they're going to try to be a very run-heavy team. AJ Brown, for me, he's not a must-start, but he is my wide receiver. I want to say like somewhere between 17 and 20 right now. So, despite the talent, still really good player, obviously, can break free any given moment. But I still am skeptical about what this overall offense is going to look like when they don't need to be in shootout games, which does leave Devontae Smith again in the shaky flex tier. Very much at the top of it, but I don't think he's a must-start dub flex immediately. On the flip side, with Mike Evans out, I mean, Ibuka should see a very high target share. I'm not sure what the Eagles are going to do here in terms of like their defensive matchups, right? Quinyon Mitchell's the guy that takes the outside receiver. Emeka Ibuka's been running a ton of routes in the slot so far this year, so I doubt Mitchell travels with him. Cooper DeJean is obviously a nickel slot cornerback as well, so A little bit tough to really like pin the matchup on Egbuka, but overall the Philly passing defense is not one that's like a great matchup. So I'm not going to throw Egbuka into the must start category, and they don't have lines up for him because we don't have the status of Chris Godwin yet. He's going to be feels good. Like, I think if you own him, you have to start him in the games where Mike Evans isn't playing, obviously. And then for Chris Godwin, he and Sterling Shepard are both going to be shaky flex plays for me. Like, I'd rather not start them, which I literally have a category for, but I think they're both in situations where they can get some targets. I will say, actually, if Godwin plays, Sterling Shepard's going to be a rather not for me, and Godwin's very much at the bottom of the shaky flex category. If Godwin does not play, Shepard's going to end up moving into the shaky flex, but still at the very bottom of it. Moving on to Tennessee at Houston. Houston is a 7-point favorite in this one, a 38.5-point total, which is ridiculous, which means that Tennessee is probably projected for like 13 or 14 points in this game. Nico finally connected and had a big game last week. I think just based on the matchup here, just based on him being Nico Collins, he's going to be in the must-start category. Let's check out the DMPs here. Nothing crazy, but Tennessee still without their offensive tackle, J.C. Latham. I don't know when he's going to be back, but he's missed the last couple of games. Derek Stingley's the other one. He had a rib injury in last game, which he missed the second half of. Obviously, if he is out and he's starting the week with a DMP, which isn't great, but if he gets a limited practice in on Thursday or Friday, we can expect him to probably suit up. But I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up missing this game. So if Stingley's out, obviously it's an upgrade to the Tennessee passing offense. I think the other big thing that needs to be talked about here is the fact that Brian Callahan, the woted head coach and play caller, is no longer calling plays for Tennessee. So they're handing that off, which could mean nothing, but it also could absolutely give a little bit more creativity juice and a little bit of a spark to this offense. So I don't want to leave anyone for dead. I think that being said, however, Calvin Ridley, Alec Aymaner, and Christian Kirk, who ran a ton of routes, got a ton of air yards last week, are all going to go into the shaky flex category for me. I mean, Ridley just hasn't performed. Like, I don't know how you can trust him, obviously, at this point, but I do think there's worse setups right now than new play caller against a team that might be without Derek Stingley this week. Alec Aymaner's been pretty consistent, so he'll get some targets. And then Christian Kirk last week, again, 8 targets, over 100 air yards. Really, really promising first game back for him. Slotted right into the wide receiver 2 role. I think he's a really, really solid PPR option. So you could throw him in that shaky flex category for show. The last 1 o'clock game, we've got Washington at Atlanta. Atlanta 1.5-point underdogs, 45.5-point total here. I do not think we have word yet on Jaden Daniels or Terry McLaurin in this one. So if we look at the practice reports, Jaden Daniels was limited. So that is trending upwards for him as opposed to last week where it was just DMPs across the board. I still think it's 50-50 whether or not he plays in this one. Obviously an upgrade to the offense if he does play. For the DMPs, however, Noah Brown still out. JCM with a random DMP as well. He's dealing with a little bit of a knee soreness going on down there. Terry McLaurin with the quad injury, DMP. I don't know. There's a lot of reports going around. He's looking for a second opinion, but I wouldn't read too much into it until we just hear something concrete. I wouldn't try to speculate or figure out what's going on there. Obviously, huge boost for a guy like Deebo Samuel if Terry McLaurin is out and Noah Brown is out. AJ Terrell is probably going to miss another week or two, so our strongest cornerback in the defensive backfield is going to be out for this one. Another boost for them. Should also be noted, Trey Amos, the talented rookie cornerback for Washington, was limited. Does look like he's going to suit up, but maybe not. Drake London, fully expecting a bounce back. I'll keep rolling him out here as a must start. Like, I just don't see a world where you don't start him. Darnell Mooney, until we see a little bit more connection in this passing game and a little bit more fluidity to the passing game, he's going to have to go into the shaky flex category. Terry McLaurin, yeah, I don't know. With the quad, obviously feels pretty shitty. I think if he's playing, you're probably going to suit him up, but I'm going to throw him into the shaky flex category for now. And I'll throw Deebo into the dub flex category for now based on Terry being limited. Next up, we got Indy at the Rams. The Rams are 3.5-point favorites, 49.5-point total. This is a game that you absolutely want pieces of the passing game in for, all right? So Devontae Adams with the DNP on Wednesday. I don't think they're overly concerned about it right now. Alec Pierce is in the concussion protocol, so there's a chance he misses. DeForest Buckner would be a big whiff for the Colts if he can't play. That's a DNP. So I actually think we're going to see a huge game out of Kyron Williams in this one. I don't think I've seen any stats yet. Yeah, the book's got Kyron all the way up at 75.5. I ain't fooling anybody. I ain't sneaky out here. I mean, maybe I fuck around and alt him up to 100 plus rushing yards. I don't know, but something around Kyron Williams I want to take because I do think they go heavy into the run game. And again, you could track or follow any bet that I make on the Pickett app. Link down below. Free to download, free to follow, free to all that sheesh. Puka, literally my GOAT. Oh, and one other big hit to the Colts secondary, Kenny Moore. was a DNP, and he might not suit up in this one. I actually think he's probably unlikely to, which is going to be a major upgrade to the passing game. And I think Devontae Adams he's close to a must start, but he's going to be in the feels good category and very, very highly up there. As you can see, his line's at 61.5, 5.5 receptions. I think we're going to see a really, really good game from the Rams overall. I don't want to take the spread because 3.5 points I think is too much based on how the Colts are playing right now, but I like the setup for what we're seeing for their offense right now. Michael Pittman's playing really well. He's like the top target in this offense, so he's going to be in the feels good category immediately, especially if Alec Pierce is out for this one. I think everybody else, I mean, Josh Downs, the way he's playing and his snaps just not being full-time is going to go into the shaky flex category. If Pierce is out, Adonai Mitchell, I'd still throw him into the rather not category, but Jacksonville at San Francisco. There's still a lot of stuff up in the air for this game, so it's a little bit tough to decipher like what's going to happen here. We do have Nick Bosa is going to be out for the remainder of the year. Obviously, a huge downgrade for their defense. De'Ami Brown, DNP with the shoulder, which will upgrade the target share a little bit for the other Jacksonville Jaguars. Wide receiver Juwan Jennings and Ricky P were both DNPs on Wednesday. Juwan Jennings missed last week and was full DNP, so getting a little bit nervous about that ankle at this point. If this was a minor, like lower ankle injury, I kind of feel like he'd be back at practice already. Don't want to speculate again. Maybe he's back today or tomorrow. We did see him in week 2 coming off of 3 DNPs in a row play really, really well. So don't want to write him off. Brock Purdy, it looks like he's trending towards playing in this one, so that would be good for San Francisco. Ricky P dealing with the knee soreness right now. I'm expecting him to suit up, but like I've mentioned to you guys before, this Jacksonville defense has been legit. Like their passing defense has been very, 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 very good on the year. 31st in EPA per pass allowed. So again, on paper, think it looks good and feels good. I don't know that that's actually the truth here. So here's the way I'll line this up. If Ricky P plays and Juwan does not play, he's going right into the feels good category. Brian Thomas Jr., I mean, he's going to be ranked highly for me, like highly enough. I believe he's definitely a top 20 guy for me because I just want to keep believing, especially with De'Ami Brown out and Travis Hunter being kind of phased out of the offense overall. But based on the matchup and just based on everything that's happened, he's going to go into the dub flex category for me, although very much at the top of the list here. Juwan Jennings, if he ends up playing, I think you probably got to throw him into the shaky flex category because of all the fucking injuries he is dealing with. And if he does play, I do think this might move Ricky P down to the dub flex category, but very much at the top of it. And I'd feel pretty good about playing him. Everybody else on this team, though, I mean, Travis Hunter is definitely a rather not at this point. Parker Washington, who played well last week, got a ton of targets. I still think that's a little bit of fool's gold because, I mean, we've seen that before where Parker kind of breaks out for a big game here, big game there, and then the next week it's 6 other players. But if De'Ami Brown is out, I think you could probably do worse than Parker Washington. Either way, he's probably going to go into the rather not category. I think it might be a nice game for a guy like Brenton Strange. Really high over-under, 47.5 points for 2 teams whose defense have been playing very, very good. Baltimore at Kansas City. Xavier Worthy returned to a full practice this week, very much trending towards playing. Isaiah Likely limited again. I think he should be trending towards playing. The Ravens got stomped on the ground versus the Lions in this one, mainly because they've been without a lot of their defensive line. Metabike, who's going to be out again. Kyle Van Noy is a DMP again. Like, those are big-time playmakers on their defense. And if they're out again, I could see the Chiefs trying to establish the run pretty heavily here. Zay Flowers, I'm not going to overthink this one. I think regardless of his inconsistencies, I think people kind of overreacted to week 1. I think what we saw in week 2, the 7 for 75, is probably more like who Zay Flowers is going to be. So he's going to be in the feels good category, obviously. Like, if you have him, he's without a doubt in your lineup. Gets a little bit tricky after this for all the other players. Hollywood Brown's lineup at 46.5 feels way too high, but it feels kind of trappy. It feels a little bit trappy because we've got the Baltimore secondary that's not playing well, and I do think that is an effect of the run game being so effective against their defense, and it's hard to play cornerback with that. But like, something's not adding up to me here. 46.5, 3.5 receptions. He's not really the deep ball guy. That's pretty much exclusively Tyquan Thornton right now. So honestly, I'm about to lock that in. We're about to lock in the under on Marquise. I've never seen more of a trap looking line. That's just simply too many. He's up at 47.5 now. It's moving in real time. Why is that so suspect? Yeah, whatever. We just took it. Regardless, yeah, I mean, Marquise Brown, shaky flex. Xavier Worthy, I think you probably are going to start him if you have him, but he's, I don't feel great about it right now. I don't know how many snaps he's going to play because I don't know how effective he's going to be able to be in the run game with that harness on and just his shoulder injury in general. Rashad Bateman, always liable to hit a big play. He'll be in the shaky flex category. I think DeAndre Hopkins is still only playing like 25% of the snaps right now. Where's Tyquan Thornton? I mean, Tyquan, you want to talk about a dude making the most of his opportunities. Little messy, just given we don't know what his playtime or target share is going to be when Xavier Worthy is back on the field. Honestly, I'm going to throw him in the shaky flex because he's producing as well as any of these other guys here in the Kansas City Chiefs receiving room. So he's in here for show, but I don't feel great about any of them despite Baltimore's secondary and what it looks like. I think at the end of the day, Baltimore's defense is way better than what they're showing right now. Moving on to the last afternoon game, Chicago at Las Vegas. Chicago is 1.5 point underdogs, 47.5 point total. This is one where we want to attack because the opposing secondaries are really, really bad. Jacoby Myers is an extremely high floor, feels good player. His line's all the way up at 66.5, which is actually, if you look at the yardage, I mean, I might have to move him up. Fuck it. I'm just going to throw some respect on Jacoby. Fuck it. He's a must start. 66.5. Malik Neighbors, 61.5. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 64.5. So Jacoby's in that tier. I think at this point, Rome is also a must start. I don't know how you could possibly have him anywhere close to sniffing your bench. For Chicago secondary, let's see if they're getting any players back. I mean, we already know that Jalen Johnson is out. We did have Jalen Jones, one of their other cornerbacks, finally return to a limited practice, so I guess that would be good for them. But Kyler Gordon, another good cornerback for them, started off with a DNP, so not trending in the right direction. Colston Loveland, rookie tight end, also DNP, tweaked his hip last game. So if Kyler Gordon doesn't play again, I mean, they're down their two top cornerbacks. So, Jacoby Myers should feast. I even think that makes Trey Tucker, I don't want to put him into the dub flex category, but he definitely deserves to be into the shaky flex category where you can absolutely consider him, considering his role, right? If you have these Chicago Bears entire defense down, most of their secondary players, plus Trey Tucker just getting a lot of deep shots downfield, he deserves to be in there. DJ Moore, yeah, I mean, sure, he scored against the Dallas secondary, but I have very little faith that he's going to continue to be a great player. His line at 49.5 is pretty damn high, though. If you look at some of the other players in the shaky flex category, you got Keon at 37.5. Obviously, these guys are probably towards the bottom half of this tier, and DJ Moore would be at the top half. But, I'm just making these tiers based on how I feel about these guys. And honestly, if I have DJ Moore, I don't feel great about rolling him out again, even though the Raiders secondary has been atrocious. And Luther Burden coming off his first big game, he's still very much in the rather not tier. Sunday Night Football, we got Green Bay at Dallas in this one. Nate Hobbs and Bo Melton both with full practices, so that is an upgrade to their secondary. We've got some injuries to both offensive lines. Zach Tom, their star tackle, is going to be out for this one for the Packers. Tyler Booker, doubtful for this one. Trayvon Diggs is another DNP, so trending towards him not playing again, which opens up the secondary for the Green Bay Packers receivers. Now, we've got CeeDee Lamb out. What we need to figure out is who's getting the middle of the field targets, right? Who's operating in the slot? I really don't think it's going to be George Pickens. I think the books are kind of getting ahead of themselves with what the lines are for Pickens. I think at the end of the day, he'll get enough targets where he probably gets there based on volume alone, but I am not expecting an efficient day out of George Pickens against the Green Bay Packers defense, which is obviously fucking ferocious. You could see the red across the board. Fourth fewest fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position, bottom 7 in EPA per pass allowed, and then allowing the single fewest points of any defense in the NFL up to this point. So targets should be there. I don't know, man. When I just watch George Pickens, I just don't think a passing offense can run efficiently through him as the wide receiver one. So he makes me skeptical. I obviously don't feel good about him, but I don't see a world where if you have him on your team, he's not going into your lineup, of course. I just wanted to throw my piece out there. On the flip side, you want to play everybody against the Dallas secondary. That being said, it's Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden, Dontavian Wicks. Who's going to be the one that actually comes home with it? I think Doubs and Golden are going to go into the shaky flex category, and I feel okay about both of them. Dontavian Wicks, I don't really feel good about at all. So he's going to go into the rather not. And then both Dallas receivers, Turpin and Tolbert, sure, either of them can catch a touchdown or come home with a single big play and really make their heyday for the afternoon. But really, I think the Dallas offense is just going to be Jake Ferguson over the middle, George Pickens on the outside, forcing him targets, and a lot of Javonte Williams, either dump offs or just the run game there. Monday night, we've got back-to-back games. Another weather report. We got the Jets at Miami. Miami is 2.5 point favorites, 45.5 point total. Sunday Night Football could see some lingering showers and storms early from the usual Florida afternoon activity, but it would pretty quickly be winding down as the game gets going. Again, nothing more than a chance for some rain. So not overly concerned about that weather report in Miami. No practice reports available for the Monday night games. We'll get our first one on Thursdays for this one. I think Garrett Wilson goes into the must-start category regardless of who is at quarterback for them. Tyreek Hill's played really well. I'm going to throw him into the feels good category. Jalen Waddle, I'm still not a huge fan of. I know this is a great matchup for the Dolphins on paper against the Jets secondary. I just don't trust Jalen Waddle to do anything more than have fucking 45 receiving yards. Like last week, I think I was all over that on Thursday Night Football, where I was like 4 for 40, 4 for 40, 4 for 40. It's all he does against the Bills. He did it. He just ended up catching the touchdown. So I get it. It's easy to want to start Waddle after last week, but he's still a shaky flex guy for me. Definitely towards the top of the category, but I'm not overexposing myself to Jalen Waddle this week. Last game of the slate, we've got Cincinnati at Denver. Denver 7.5-point favorites against the Cincinnati Bengals, who just got shit all over last week by the Minnesota Vikings. So for me, Courtland Sutton, I mean, based on his usage, based on the matchup, can't imagine this is not a decent bounce back game for Bo Nix. I don't know how you could possibly sit Courtland Sutton. Jamar Chase, if he's lining up across Patrick Surtain, it's not going to be great. It's not going to be great for Jake Browning. So I'm going to put him into the feels good category, but anyone who has Jamar Chase know that shit is a lie, and we don't feel good about starting any Cincinnati pass catcher, and T. Higgins is going to go into the shaky flex category. T. Higgins, maybe he sees more of Surtain on the outside, and they're moving Jamar Chase around more in the slot, which is typically the case, and Chase is the guy who gets the line of scrimmage targets. I just have so much doubt about how much success or how much Jake Browning can move the ball against this defense. Now, I will say, I do think there's going to be overreactions to Jake Browning last week. Like, that was the worst game of all time. But Browning's better than that, and I do think this offense will have more success moving than what they did against Minnesota. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jake Browning plays okay in this one. It's obviously just a very, very tough matchup, and we haven't seen a lot of success for the offense overall. Troy Franklin, I think he's a bounce back candidate for this week as well. Underperforming last week based off of what he did 2 weeks ago. He's going to be in the shaky flex category. I think you could start him if you really need to. Marvin Mims is a rather not for me. So is everybody else in that matchup. So there you have it. You've got 8,000 wide receivers. Let's make this fucking tiny for y'all, so maybe you could see everybody on the screen at once. There's the must starts, the feels good, the dub flexes, and the shaky flexes. As always, these rankings are available right now for you guys on BDGE.co. If you are a Big Dog member, you can sign up straight from the website. The cheapest way to get it, and probably the best way to both, for your bank account, for your wallet, and to support the brand, would be by going to our partner's website, MGM, or downloading their app. When you deposit $10 or more using code BDGE or Big Dog, BIGDOG, and play any slip, again, you could follow my slips on Pickett, just tail one of those. As soon as you play it, you'll get a promo code message in app that you can use on our website to get the Big Dog membership for free for the next 3 months automatically. All right, so rankings available in the Big Dog membership. Support our partners, MGM, code BDGE, or Big Dog, Pickett, code BDGE. That one is free, obviously. So that's wide receivers for week 4. I'll see y'all on Saturday for the private Q&A sit start live stream for the Big Dog members. All right, love y'all. I'm out of here. Smoochies.